Let's get right to it this week. The Highway 5 trophy will stay in Lebanon as the Yellow Jackets beat their biggest rivals on the road in Camdenton. West Plains tried their best to slow an offensive juggernaut, but the Falcons scored 21 unanswered points in the second half to remain unbeaten. The Salem Tigers are 3-0 after a closer than expected win over Houston, and a heartbreaking loss for Rolla last week as they squandered a 23-8 halftime lead over Parkview, allowing the winning touchdown to be scored with only 37 seconds remaining. Let's see what Coach Franks has to say about that.
Thanks, Matt. I'm Monty Jordan, along with head coach of the Rolla Bulldogs, John Franks. And Coach, a tough game last Friday night, 27-23 loss to Parkview Vikings.
Yeah, disappointing. Obviously we did good things, but now we're to the point we're trying to learn and finish things and finish the game executing and on a high note. And, we came out the first half and we're pretty much firing on all cylinders. And we just kind of got to the point where we, that young group just kind of being able to put things away. And, when you're facing a good team, Parkview's a good team, you can't let off the gas. You got to keep pouring it on. And we've learned, and like every week we just keep learning stuff. So we're going to improve from this.
To me, it looked like your first half, probably the best first half of football the Bulldogs have played this year. At least the first quarter, especially.
Yeah, it was a good half. Offensively, defensively, special teams. We kind of put the whole package together, and that just constant development in being able to maintain that level of play. And it does take energy and practice to keep that kind of concentration for 48 minutes. And, when we get to the end, hey, we're going to finish this off instead of, I hope we're hanging on. Just a different mindset. And, some of that comes with youth, some of that comes with inexperience, but they're going to get there. Like you said, it is frustrating. There's not much moral victory in that.
Yeah.
We've had last few weeks, we've had a couple of pretty much moral victories with playing well, but that's a game we should have won. And it just falls on execution as a staff, as system, as program. We need to finish that game off.
Even with the inexperience in the second half at 4:55 playing the game, you're still up, and a couple of first downs with Parkview with no timeouts left probably seals that victory.
Yeah, we get one first down, that thing's over. And but it's one of those things. Yeah, could that one play or this? You try not to put all the emphasis on one play. There's so many plays in that second half that could have finished it off way early. And, the nice thing is, they scored. And we turned around and came running Kevin Casados with the big kick return. And then we had a couple of shots at the end zone with our hands on it. So we'll get there.
You can't ask for anything better than that when you get down 27-23, 35 seconds to go, and you can take two shots in the end zone to try to win a ball game. That great kickoff return by Kevin, and it sets you up perfectly for some deep throws. And like you said, you got your hands on them. But
yeah, that's we talked about these guys never give up, and they never have. When we got close, we started really fast, and we finished. We had that little lull there at the end, but then we finished hard again. So eventually it's going to be all the way through the game, 48 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's what we're at them right now, is just really focusing on, do your job, execute your job every single play. So
I thought Xavier Douglas was a warrior last night, Friday night. He had to come in for Davis, who got a hamstring injury, and he had to play running back and linebacker too. He was a workhorse.
Yeah, we were really proud of Xavier. As far as reps, he was probably 25% of the reps offensively for us this week in practice, because we want a lot out of him on defense. And he got, the bell. His bell was rung, and he had to go, and he was exhausted when it was over. He played as hard as he could all night, and he was wore out, and he did a good job. We're really proud of him.
One thing I see in this team is the camaraderie with the team, the players all picking up each other. There were some offensive linemen that got dinged up during the game, especially in the second half. They weren't going to come out. No way they were going to come out of the game. Guys were picking them up, putting them back in the huddle. They were shaking it off and playing hard all night long.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. That was one of the areas we wanted to develop in, is that toughness area, because That is a learned trait to be tough. You don't come out of the womb physical and nasty and all that good stuff. And, we always tell them, you're going to play dinged up in football. We're not expecting you to play through injury, but we expect you to play through discomfort. And that's getting better and better. And those guys, we've talked about, they put so much into it that they don't want to come out. They can live through it and get through it. So it's getting better, and that's exciting to see.
Well, I think example was Elijah Young in the third quarter, got cramps, just beating on the turf because he knew he had to come out of the game. He didn't want to come out.
He didn't want to come out. He tried to get up. I know it always seems kind of harsh, but we're always like, get up and get off the field. Part of that is so we can assess if they're really hurt or not. Yeah. But he didn't want to come off, and he was just cramped up. He's a sophomore that was going to play one way, and we had an injury through the week, and he ended up being a two-way player, and he was, it was really hot.
Yeah, it was.
And he was, I guess it was pretty nice, really. I was trying to make an excuse.
It was pretty hot.
But, he had to go for a long time, and he played really well. And there comes a point if you're not physically really can be on the top of your game the whole time, it gets fatigue. Yeah. And, when you're a sophomore and you're asked to do that, you're going to exert a lot of energy. And he did, so we're really proud of him. And he got back in the game and finished.
Everybody sees that on the team. The leaders doing the same thing, the other guys doing the same. It picks everybody up, and they want to be out there, and they want to play, and they want to play hard.
Yeah, we've got great leaders. Our senior classes, we've talked about, they do a great job. Like Kevin Casados, he just plays hard all the time, and all of our seniors are like that. So that's exciting. They want to play for each other. And the most important thing, they want to play for Rolla. And they care about this community, they care about this program, and they want to turn it around. And so it's exciting to see it's coming. It's just we haven't got our little mark yet, but that's okay. We'll get it.
We talked about how to learn how to win. It was a tough lesson to learn last Friday night about what it takes to win.
Yeah, just that finishing and executing all the way through. And, what's your mindset when you're making a play? Is it, I'm going to do this or don't do this? And I think some of them get in that situation where, oh, don't screw up, instead of, I'm going to get this baby and get it done. But that's maturity and experience and confidence, and they'll get that. And we talk about it and we work on it, and nothing is left unturned in the program right now. Physical, mental, scheme, it's all covered. So, some of them have got to get more confident in their play and their abilities. Some of them are extremely talented, because they've not been in a lot of situations, can be a little negative or a little pessimistic, and instead of, I'm going to catch this, don't drop it. So we're always, that self-talk, talking to yourself in those good ways to make things happen.
The team is probably ready to go right now to play a game. They probably can't wait to get back.
Oh, yeah, and that's the way they've been the last 3 weeks. We could play on Monday. Yeah. They'd be sore and tired, but they would play on Monday. They've already been watching film. They've already got the game plan. So, the hardest thing is just get them all the way through the week practicing.
Joplin Eagles come up next year at Lions Memorial Field here in Rolla, Class 6 team, so a little higher classification of what you're used to playing, but a winnable game, really.
Pretty typical Joplin. They've got some good-sized kids. They've got some talent. Like I said, Class 6. We saw them in camp. I would say between us, Parkview, Joplin, we're all kind of bunched right there together. It's just going to come down to, like this week, turnovers, execution of our system, and how you're going to finish. So, we're excited. Another opportunity, and here we go. And love playing here at home. Mm-hmm. The crowd was great.
It was a great crowd last Friday night.
Crowd stayed in it the whole night, and really proud and thankful for all the people that come out and support us.
Joplin got the bruising running back still again, or?
Oh, they've got a smaller guy, but their quarterback is more of a bruiser this go around. The guy they graduated last year, Cornett, was speed demon and can throw it. This guy's a little bit bigger. I don't know if he's as fast, but he's pretty athletic. They like to run the ball with him, and he does throw the ball pretty good. So, they'll be typical Joplin. They'll be physical, and they'll play some good defense, and we'll just have to execute.
And they have to make that long bus ride up here, too. That always seems to affect
I
the
hate-
team.
I just-
Whether they go down there or come up here.
I hate that for them. I really do.
Thanks, Coach, for coming in and talking during the Extra Point Show.
Well,
Great
thank you
talk.
very much. Appreciate everything you guys do for us.
We've been talking with the head coach of the Rolla Bulldogs, John Franks. I'm Monty Jordan. Stay tuned for more of the Extra Point Show on Fidelity Local 6.
Oh my! Such a world of amazement! Eating at the Minor Diner is very good advice. Smoked and barbecue delights to tempt everyone. The butcher has so many wonderful offerings. Such a wonderful assortment of garden freshness. Fresher savings every day.
We won't be undersold. You've heard it for 30 years at Paul's Furniture Outlet. We now carry appliances. When you need a refrigerator and freezer, range and micro hood, washer and dryer, and a dishwasher, shop Paul's. We won't be undersold. Paul's is the dealer for Maytag, Whirlpool, Amana, and Frigidaire. 2.5 acres of furniture, including Lazy Boy, Ashley, and Flex Steel. We won't be undersold. Paul's Furniture Outlet and Now Appliances. South 63 in Rolla, still voted #1 in the area.
Welcome back to the Extra Point. We're here with Coach Will Christian of the Lebanon Yellow Jackets, coming off of a big win over Camdenton, a rival on the road at that. So a big win for you there, Coach. Congratulations on that, first of all.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's talk about just the opening situation as far as the drives are concerned. Your opening drive, you took it down, scored 7. They kind of turn the tables and come back and get into the end zone as well. How big was the missed extra point on their touchdown, do you feel?
It was huge, because it put them in a 2-point conversion situation moving forward, and, they were unable to convert on those. And what that did, it allowed us to get into a 2-possession lead situation there late. And certainly that was a major impact in how they called things with those last 3 minutes. If they're down just 7, they can operate offensively much different than down 9.
And it seemed like they were trying to catch up and make up that 1 point the entire game. That even though you did build a little bit larger lead later, it seemed like that 1 point just kind of haunted them throughout the game.
There's no question. I mean, special teams are a third of the game for a reason, and without any doubt, if you don't execute in those areas, it can put you behind the 8 ball, and definitely had a huge impact. The fact that our PAT team, Lakaya Caps and Cast were perfect was a huge component.
So your team goes up early and you were able to hold on to that lead. Camden goes 1 for 4 on 4th down conversions. They went for it 4 times and they were only able to convert that 1 time. Definitely a tribute to your defense.
Yeah, I thought defensively we played well. There's no question that Camdenton moved the football as we knew they would, but we had some key stands which were pivotal. Maybe most pivotal, the one right before half, which was a huge momentum thing, especially considering they came out to open the second half and kind of shoved it down our throat a little bit there. And, if they convert right before half, they have a lead all of a sudden. And so, that was a pivotal stand. And then we had a couple of others throughout the game that were just important. One in particular, late in the third quarter, after we kind of 3-and-outed, and they got midfield field position, and again another opportunity for them to take the lead, and we were able to get a stop there. So great offense in Camdenton. We knew they were going to be solid, and they moved the football, but fortunately we were able to come up with some big conversions that allowed us to win the ball game.
You were able to contain Griffin the first half for the most part. He wasn't able to get open and get much yardage really in the first half, a whole lot anyway. The second half he seemed to get it going a little bit. That first half where you did get that stop going into the locker room and then they get the ball to start the second half, momentum did seem to kind of shift and go their direction, but once again your defense was able to step up.
Yeah, I think so. And of course, one of the things that was pretty important in the scenario when after their first drive in the first half, when it was 14-12, is our offense answered immediately. and they went on a good long drive, which kind of eliminated that momentum, which certainly they had seized right at the beginning of that second half. And that was pivotal, that we were able to march it and chew a lot of time and punch it in. And, we go up 21-12, and we're a 2-possession lead. And even in that setting, though it being in the third quarter, it still, I think, put some pressure on them in the standpoint of play calling, that they know that, they're 2 possessions down. And I think that, it'll force them to maybe do some things they didn't want to do.
Really, you talked about chewing up some clock there. I felt like that really your clock management and just the time of possession was really huge in this game overall. It just seemed like that you guys did a great job of controlling the clock and really controlling the ball.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, that's going to be huge every week. I mean, it'll be huge coming up in this next game. And that's our philosophy and our style. And that's something that we have to do a good job of. I mean, we've got to get first downs. We've got to manage the clock. All of that is going to put us in a position to be successful. And certainly Friday we did a tremendous job, especially out of the gate. Anytime you get the ball first and you're able to really set the stage, set the tempo, I think it was pivotal that we were able to do that, and a tremendous drive there to open the ball game. 7 minutes, whatever it was huge.
Let's talk about intestinal fortitude, guts. Your kids penalized for 85 yards, but it seemed like every time there was a big penalty, that drive, you ended up putting the ball in the end zone and putting points on the board. That, to me, just comes down to just intestinal fortitude, guts, and the kids just, really stepping up big, and really some of those penalties, maybe were undeserved or maybe not as shouldn't have been as highlighted as what they were, but your kids overcame that.
Yeah, very proud of them for that. We preach all the time, being overcomers. We preach all the time process and staying focused on what we can control. Of course, it's only in those scenarios where we really find out if it's just lip service or if they're really believing in what we're telling them. And certainly in that setting, I think they proved that some of the stuff that we preach, they're applying, which is awesome. And, and that's one of those things that we have to do. We just got to keep playing, and you can't control that. I think most of the penalties, more than likely we did probably do. The part that I was probably most frustrated with was the 12-1 differential. And you've coached a long time, you know what that's like. If you've got, if they've called 10 fouls on your team and the other team has none, it really makes you scratch your head as to how that's possible, because I can promise you I could point out on film time after time where the opponent could have been flagged just the same. So, you'd like to have consistency, but you can't make it an excuse. And certainly, we didn't want to do that, and our kids did a great job of overcoming.
And I think that's really maybe one of the keys to the victory. Let's talk about John Berry again. Outstanding game. If you put him, head to head with Jay Griffin, 160 yards, 180 yards. John Berry 3 touchdowns. Just a workhorse for you.
Yeah, John had a great night. Thought he ran very hard, very physical. Got a lot of yards after first contact, which is huge. But, one of the things for sure I know John would say if he was sitting in here is our offensive line had a tremendous night, also creating holes for him to get into that situation where he could break that initial tackle. And so, I think our offensive line, as we've talked about the previous weeks, is going to keep getting better and better and better, and they did a tremendous job Friday.
With your offensive line, not only that, them doing a great job, but seemed like early on you went to John Berry, they started focusing on him a little bit, and so you were able to pull out some of your other weapons. Hunter Bray started carrying the ball. Michael Appleberry even had a carry later on in the game. And, how important is it that you can spread those carries out? And we've talked about this a little bit before, but it really seemed like it helped out the other night.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime you're one-dimensional, I think that's a negative in football, and we've been there. We've been one-dimensional before, where we felt like that our best option was A and B and C were not ready, and so we've been in that situation before. But right now we're not. I feel like we've got a lot of options, and it's smart for us to use the options that our opponent is giving us, and that's what we have to do to assess. And I think Brian Summer did a great job Friday of assessing that and taking advantage of what Camdenton was giving us.
You get down late in the game, 4th down opportunity, and the ball goes, rolls in Camdenton's direction. You get a penalty and you have to, you get the ball on downs, but there's a penalty that brings it back. They throw to the end zone. Dylan Leck comes up with a huge interception. How about that play?
It's huge. Really happened for Dylan. He is a workhorse and a senior that this is his first year of starting, and he gets better each and every week. And of course it was redemption for him too, because they were able to Decker was able to go over the top of him and score the series before that, or a couple series before that. And so for him to get that, it was I think pretty sweet for him and huge for us, because obviously if they score a touchdown there, then we're looking at an onside kick. Right. And we know how interesting those things can get, and so it wasn't over. So definitely that was a huge play to seal the deal.
So, outstanding win, good team effort once again. I feel like every week we keep saying that, but it just keeps getting better, and your team just seems to keep focused on improving each week. Once again, how hard is it now? I mean, the atmosphere was unbelievable. Huge crowds on both sides, big rivalry. You come out of there with a win. How hard is it now to say, okay, guys, the season's not over. We've got to keep playing. We've got another Ozark Conference matchup coming up this Friday.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a challenge for everybody to get dialed back in and to stay hungry. I mean, that's one of the things that, we'll be talking about a lot tomorrow, is the fact that, if we lose any of that edge, any of that hunger that's going to be necessary for us to be successful, that won't be good. And Glendale will not be what we want to face in that scenario. So I think, our kids will quickly rebound because they understand that there are some goals that are bigger than even what we accomplished last week. And we can't do any of those things if we don't get dialed into what we need to do this week. And so I don't anticipate much of a hangover. I really don't. Here's the other thing that's really nice, I think, in high school football versus some other sports. We've got several days, to heal positively and negatively. Whereas some sports, you got to bounce back in a day or two, and I think those hangovers can be real. I think in our sport, we've got several days to get a grip of things, to challenge our kids. If we sense anything at practice, we got some time to challenge them. And so I think in football, it's a little easier than it is in some other sports to bounce back.
Absolutely. But definitely a rivalry, but congratulations on a great win, and now time to move on to another formidable opponent in Glendale Falcons. What do you see from them?
It's one of those things. It's Ozark Conference football. We're kind of in that spot right now where we're battling at the top of the league, and this is what you expect. I mean, there's some really good teams, and Glendale's one of them, and I feel like that we have a recipe to win the ball game, but we'll definitely have to stay on that and execute it.
So your team is coming off the last several weeks having to defend the running game, and now it's defending the air attack. And so how important does that become also for you now with really just controlling the football and time of possession once again?
Absolutely. I mean, and I think the last 2 years that we've played this system, that's been one of the biggest components, is that we've been able to move the chains. Glendale, their philosophy is to make a 4-quarter game 5 quarters by snapping the football 90 times on offense, if possible. Our philosophy is the reverse of that. We want to turn a 4-quarter game into 3 by shortening it and really controlling the ball. And so it's definitely an interesting matchup because it's a contrast of styles completely. Last week we threw the ball twice, and I would say Glendale ran it twice. And so it makes for fun. I mean, it'll be fun to see how the two styles match up. But at the end of it, it's all going to come down to execution. It's going to come down to which team is able to do that, which team is able to eliminate turnovers, which team is able to execute in special teams, and which team is able to tackle and block. And, if all those things are checkmarked by Lebanon, we'll find a way to win it.
We wish you best of luck. Hopefully coming out of there 4-0. Nice win this past week. Congratulations on that. Enjoy that for a day or two, and then back to work ready for Glendale and more Ozark Conference action. So best of luck this next week against Glendale.
Appreciate it.
Thanks again. We'll come right back here in just a few moments after these messages for more of the Extra Point.
local makes sense. Lebanon is proud of over 100 years of tradition, blending new and established businesses in our growing and vibrant community. Local makes sense because you support our youth, fire protection, public safety, health, and other services which make our community great. Local makes sense because you support our growing job market, factories, agriculture, retail, and tourism. Live here, play here, work here, stay here. Lebanon, Laclede County, Missouri, where local makes sense.
These are the important things. What we pass down to the next generation. The things we share, the things we rely on. At Graven Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lebanon, we are proud to serve our neighbors at every stage of life. Purchasing that first new car, trading up to a family vehicle, buying a little something to enjoy in retirement. Throughout every generation, your family can rely on our family for honest sales and quality service.
Hi, I'm Ted, Ted's Barbershop. Call us at 417-532-2637 or come and see us at 426 South Jefferson in the Bailey Shopping Center. Next time you need a haircut, come down and see me.
Welcome back to The Extra Point. I'm Ben Gronowski here with Coach Airy. Coach, thanks again for having me. Appreciate it. Last week, the Zizzers had a tough opponent in the Glendale Falcons. Between Glendale's high-profile aerial attack and the Zizzers' ground assault that can pretty much score 6 points at any time, I really don't think anyone, including myself, expected the 14-14 score going into the half. Tell me about your game plan going into the game and how it was executed in that first half.
Well, we originally thought the best thing to do is keep the ball out of their hands. So we tried to manage the clock, stay in bounds, let the clock run, heavy dose of run game, keep the clock moving, and we wanted to be effective or efficient as far as scoring, and just keep the ball out of their hands. And it was pretty good. And then we had the fumble punt that kind of broke us down, broke our back. We could have went in 21-7 at half. We really thought we could do that. And they ended up getting the last second score there to go in, and momentum kind of jumped on their side going into half. Anyway, 28-27, we're still fighting, got a good game going. The game plan's still going good, and then just kind of fell apart in the fourth quarter. We had a couple instances where we didn't move the chains and didn't convert on third down, and you just have to do that to win games. And I don't know if we showed our youth or kind of.
We'll get more into the fourth there in a moment. I was going to ask, by the half, it was pretty clear that the Zizzers were the hardest opponent the Falcons had faced to date this year. So, what was it like in the locker room during the half, and what, if any, adjustments were made?
We felt like we were doing everything. The plan was being well executed, so we didn't really make any adjustments. Just kind of praised the guys about how they were handling and managing the game, and it's exactly what we had to do to be successful. And we tried to get out in the third quarter and do more of the same thing, really. Sure.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what we saw. The third quarter, we saw two teams trading a couple touchdowns, and but then the Falcons, as you mentioned earlier, would own pretty much the fourth quarter. You had said third down conversion rate. What else, if anything, did you feel was really different about that quarter?
I believe we had a turnover. Can't turn the ball over in big games. Mm-hmm. So that took an opportunity away from us right there. And then it was mainly just third down conversions. You just have to keep moving the chains. You have to keep those guys off the field. They're really good.
Well, with the lessons from the past couple of weeks and Hillcrest coming to town, what's the focus of this week's practice?
The focus of this week is going to be quit mistaking our way out of football games. We got to carry out a plan for 4 quarters. We got to play hard for 4 quarters. Mm-hmm. Camden game, we got away from us in the fourth quarter. Last week, got away from us in the fourth quarter. And then Waynesville, we didn't play in the fourth quarter. So we've not really got a fourth quarter under our belt yet this year. And we need to establish a fourth quarter game and be consistent for 4 quarters.
Okay. Any latest updates on the injury reserve or the injury roster?
Jacob Bowers goes and gets tested out this week. Today, a matter of fact, he's going to get a strength test, and he may be back Friday night, coming back from the MCL strain. And that's really it. We're pretty healthy.
Good deal. That's always great to hear.
It sure is.
The Daily Quill pointed out a very interesting statistical anomaly. Coming in with this next week with Hillcrest, both teams are 1-2, and you've both played the same teams to start the season. So how important is it winning this game and getting back to 500?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge for, first of all, just pride. We don't want to be. This game we think we can win. I mean, and you have to win them. Mm-hmm. When you break down your schedule, you say we think we can win that one. We think we can win that one, and we think we win this game. We have to win this game, and then it's huge in the district standings as well. At the end of the season, when you're into districts, we'd like to go into districts with a 4 seed. That would be our goal right now, and that's where we want to be in district seeds. And obviously, we beat Hillcrest, we're a leg up on them. They beat us, they're a leg up on us.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Tell me, what's it like with this year especially? You guys not playing at home very much, but this is going to be a home game. What's it like having that Zizzer home field advantage? What's the crowd like here, and how do the players feed off that?
It's really been good as of lately. First got here 3-4 years ago, there wasn't anybody in the bleachers hardly, and they really give us a lot of energy, give us a lot of emotion, and we enjoy being at home. We enjoy playing for them.
Absolutely. And Coach, I appreciate your time once again. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for more of the Extra Point right after this.
When you want the best professional roofing contractor, call West Plains Roofing. Established in 1968, we've been serving South Central Missouri for 50 years. We have extensive experience with industrial and commercial buildings, and we still provide professional, full-service solutions for homeowners as well. From your blueprints to every finished detail, West Plains Roofing, your professional choice. Call us at 417-256-6750.
Relationships. It's not just being on a first-name basis. It's a partnership built on trust. This is Scott Ball, president of the Bank of Salem. Since 1883, the Bank of Salem has been serving our local community with the kind of personal service and professionalism that builds relationships. We've earned the trust of our customers with over a century of strength and stability, never once changing our name or compromising customer service. Stop by one of our 2 locations in Salem, visit our website, or download our free mobile app.
Welcome back to the Extra Point Show on Fidelity Local 6. I'm Stan Stevens with Coach Brian McNamee and new Salem Tiger, J.J. McGowan. J.J., first off, I want to thank you for coming in and spending some time with us after practice. Do appreciate that. And I say new Salem Tiger because J.J. last year was an opponent of the Salem Tigers playing down in Mountain Grove. J.J., welcome to Salem Tigers.
Yeah. I was here my sophomore year, but it feels good to be back.
Well, we're glad to have you back, and of course you've kind of grown since you were a sophomore, so things have changed a little bit. But we're here after the Houston Tiger and Salem Tiger game on Friday night, and it was a homecoming matchup. Salem Tigers won that game, and of course, Coach 3-0 on the season. That's where you wanted to be.
Yeah, our goal was to take each game, 1 week at a time, and we went out and got the win, got the number 3, and we're focusing on number 4 against there.
When you start talking about SCA games, though, there's a different animal there. Houston Tigers came in; they hadn't had a touchdown all season long. They are still trying to find their mix. We see that out there. One of the things that Houston did come out with was a lot of energy in this game, and they actually got on the board first.
Yeah, this is a big game. Like I said last week, Houston, with the winning streak we have going with them, for them, this is kind of the game of the year. A win for them sets history. At Houston High School, and the crowd always shows up for it. It's a high energy game, and the kids from Houston come ready to play. Every year they have a chance to make history, and it's our job at Salem to make sure it doesn't happen.
36 straight years the Salem Tigers have won this game, and JJ, you're a part of that. And when you get a chance to play against a team like that, they come out with that anticipation of getting that first win against you so long, and all of a sudden they get that lead. They got a little confidence to them in that first quarter, didn't they?
Yeah, I got scared there for a second. But we regrouped and just drove right down the field on them.
So when you're out there playing defense against an offense like Houston has, which kind of looks like it really wasn't a very cohesive offense. It looked like they were kind of scattered in what they were trying to do. Does that make it harder on you as a defensive player?
I mean, if everyone does their job, it should work, but we had some mess-ups pretty bad.
And that's what allowed them to score?
Yeah.
Well, that's what football is, though, about coach, isn't it? About making mistakes?
Yeah, it is. I mean, ultimately as a coach, you want to try to get the numbers on your opponent and try to put mismatch. And, again, we've got some very talented athletes, but, we had to rebuild this year. And we said all along going into this season, that this team had to grow each week. And, each week, it's a Friday night football game. And, not just a Friday night football game for each one, but as a team, because, you got to get that melting pot and get that mesh going where I got your back here, this is mine, this is yours. And that just takes playing together out on the football field. What I liked about the kids is they bounce right back. And that's one thing I've said about this team. They don't hang their heads. They just reload. And, we saw it at McDonald County. We went out, unseen opponent, and they went down, they scored. We made some adjustments, marched down the field, scored. And that's exactly what we did Friday night. They kicked off to us, and, we methodically moved the ball down the field. And quarterback did a nice job, making reads. We had a couple nice catches, and we put it in the end zone. Then we come back out, and the defense pretty much battened down, said you're not getting in the end zone again, and finished the game.
When you look at the Salem Tigers in the first quarter, we kind of talked before we came on the air. Just didn't have that crispness that you really would like to see him come out with and start. We saw it against Sumner. We saw it, even against McDonald County. I thought our offense looked pretty sharp coming out. Just didn't finish a couple plays. But, that's going to happen first game of the year, get those jitters out of the way. And then you're playing the Houston Tigers. And I just thought we were maybe just hesitating a split second, make sure we don't fumble the ball, make sure we don't do something. So it wasn't as crisp as it has been, but we were still able to move the ball almost at will.
Yeah, I'd like to say the word tempo. We just didn't get the tempo going. This group of kids is very explosive. If you watch them play, we've got kids that can go the distance every play, whether it's, JJ catching a pass or Xavier catching a pass, Zach running the ball on a pull, or Jimmy or Xavier running, or Texas. We're very explosive, and the energy, they just kind of feed off each other. And we just didn't have that tempo going where everybody was on the same page, where everything was just clicking. And this group of kids has worked really hard in the offseason. I've said that, they're the team that doesn't want to be 4 points short. They're the team that doesn't want to lose an overtime game. And they really want to go out and perform well. And being a homecoming game and being against Houston, with all the hype of the 36, right. Sometimes kids go out and they try a little too hard, just like what you were saying, and they start overthinking things, and you don't have that explosion, you don't have that timing down. And, we're hoping now, to relax and play our football game. Each week our opponents are going to get tougher as we play. The SCA, I'll say this again, is probably one of the hardest hitting conferences that you'll play in. And anytime you go out to play a Friday night game in this conference, whoever you're playing, they're just going to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And there's going to be a lot of hitting going on. So, we need to stay healthy. We need to stay focused, and we need to be disciplined on those things that we've talked all week to the kids about, executing, discipline, execute, discipline. And I think when the kids start doing that, and again, they're young, we're 3 weeks into a season, I think when they start getting more games under their belt as a group, that'll clean up on its own.
Mm-hmm. One of the things, JJ, I wanted to ask you about is coming back to Salem, playing with Zach Epplin, a little bit different than playing down at Mountain Grove with the quarterbacks down there. It takes a while to get adjusted to a quarterback, how they're going to throw the ball, the timing of that. And in the first game, we kind of saw a couple of those times where it looked like he wanted you to go deep and you weren't on the same page. Looks like now you guys are pretty well in sync. Is that the case?
Yeah. Like, we didn't have Epplin this summer because I guess I don't know what was wrong, but as we started working together and stuff, we worked out to practice and threw the ball a lot. First game we weren't really in sync, but now I feel like if he gives me a head nod, I know what I'm going to be doing.
Okay, so you guys have your own little language out there. If he gives you a nod, you know to go deeper, or if he gives you one of these, you go left or go right or whatever to get to elude whoever's defending you. And that makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you get used to a quarterback. But also I noticed downfield that you're throwing some pretty good blocks.
Yeah, I try. Whatever I can do to help us win.
Well, we had some good runs in the game against Houston. Again, Xavier had another outstanding game for the Salem Tigers with a big long run and a shorter run for a touchdown. But give credit to Zach Epplin scored, Jimmy Hobson scored. We had a very nice, diverse running game, and we still threw the ball for lots of yards too, Coach. So I think that the way the game plan worked out is almost how you wanted it to when we talked last week.
Yeah, like I said, we've got a group of athletes that if you focus on one too much, the other one, steps up. JJ and Zach, they spend a lot of time in practice throwing the ball, and they're starting to get on that page what we talked about, where they know what each one's doing. Zach's getting to understand his ability levels, and like I said, it's been great to have JJ back. He brings to us not only leadership, he's one of our captains. His work ethic is tremendous, and his practice ethics are tremendous. When you add his dynamics with the dynamics of those kids that we have, we've got a good group of kids. And like you said, I think if you look at us on film and you said, okay, do I need to stop this kid or this kid or this kid? When you look at the scoring and the distribution on everything that's going on, Zach does a nice job of spreading the ball out to the receivers. We do a nice job getting the ball to both those guys when they're in the running back set. And you really can't gear in on one or the other, because about the time you start to focus in on stopping this one, boy, the other one steps up, like Xavier this week. It was his week to shine. And it's a very, in my opinion, these guys, I don't know, I don't talk to them, they go out and they kind of talk on their own. But to me, they're a selfless group. They all know their jobs, and they all know what they're capable of doing. And there's not a selfish me with this group. They know how the offense is designed to work. And, hey, if I'm doubled over here, which he got a lot of double teams from Houston, that opened up some things over here. So it's a real selfless group. I really like coaching them because they understand what needs to get done.
I was going to ask you, JJ, because I noticed that you were getting double teamed a little bit against the Houston Tigers, especially when you were the single wide out on the one side. When we did the spread on the other side and we'd put out three other receivers out that way, it looked like you were on man-to-man or they zoned you. Is that something that when you were at Mountain Grove, did you learn how to read those a little bit better as you got older in your football career? Is that something that you have learned how to read on your own and then adapt to?
Yeah, I've learned how to find my holes in the defense if I get double covered. But we didn't really throw much in Grove last year, but I kind of learned how to get open a lot.
But you guys knew how to throw the ball.
Yeah.
You know how to find those open holes. That's what Mountain Grove does. And so, but it teaches you how to do it so that when you go to the next level, no matter what team you went to, you have that year of experience in that you can actually take that to the Salem Tigers. And it has shown the way you've caught the ball and found yourself open and made some fine catches with guys hanging on you.
Yeah.
He's got really good hands. I mean, I'll vouch for that. And like I said, what's nice
he's
about
modest, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He is very. He's like I said, he's a captain on our team, and he leads through action. He's there every day in the weight room. He's dragging more kids into the weight room. He's making sure that everybody's there. He doesn't have to jump up and down and holler and scream when he plays on the football field. One thing I'll tell you about JJ is he plays the game the way it's meant to be played. He plays it fast, he plays it hard, and he plays it aggressive, and that's why he's so much fun to coach. And like I said, having him here with the experience, you can definitely see how he understands zones. And from a quarterback point of view for Zach, it's kind of like what we talked about, with this group and getting them all on the same page. It's really nice to have a receiver that understands coverages and where everything's at, because then Zach doesn't have to wait for him to get there. Zach knows where he's going to be. And like he said, you're starting to see some of the head nod and, the action with the hand. There was a real nice play on a speed option where, we had rolled out and what we wanted to occur didn't occur. And Zach was choreographing him how to set up the block. And he set up the block, and Zach picked up the first down. So, there's a lot of that communication that goes on with the kids.
And that takes time. It just takes time, a lot of time. 25-12, Salem wins it. They're 3-0 on the season, and they make another long trip, this one down to Thayer to take on the Bobcats. This is a very difficult place for Salem to play. We've not won there in several years, and it seems like, Coach, we should be winning these games. We just tend to give them away.
Yeah, like I said, our last 4 meetings with them, last year we were up 14-0, and we had a block punt, and then we had a fumble. They scored, and then pretty soon we have a tie ball game. Our quarterback went down. We just kind of let that one slip away. The year before down at there, we went up on them. We had a chance to win that ball game. We didn't stick it in the end zone. When we're inside the 3-yard line, we had 3 attempts at it, and then we had a ball that was dropped in the end zone. Billy Weber's team is a very well-coached football team. He's been around football a long time, and he has his kids ready to go. They fly to the football. They like to blitz their linebackers, and they'll come at you. From an offensive perspective, us attacking them, our offense is made to get what they give you. We'll if they want to give us run, we'll run. If we need to throw, we'll throw. And we think we're balanced enough. The last couple of years playing them, we've been able to put the ball in the air and be able to run. Defensively, you got to stop the veer. They like to run the veer, and they've got some backs that run it well, and they got some big kids up front. So we think controlling the offensive line and defensive line this week is very, very important. It allows us to disperse the ball offensively, and it allows our linebackers on the other side of the ball to flow to the ball.
Thayer's always a very hard-hitting team. And like you mentioned, they have great size. They always have had a big line. I don't know where they get the kids or if it's in the water or whatever, but they always seem to be able to find them. And JJ, one of the things that we've always encountered down at Thayer, and I don't know if you did with Mountain Grove or when you were with Salem Tigers, is rain. We always seem to go and it rains. How is that on a receiver when you have to play in, let's just say, not so perfect conditions where it's a little bit slippery out there or the ball gets wet? How do you adjust to that?
It makes it a little bit harder. I have to take my gloves off, but I adjust to it pretty well.
So there's no problem with you capturing the ball in the rain. To still catch it with your hands, bring it into the body, and secure it. But how about the footing out there? Does that get difficult when you're trying to make a cut?
Yeah, if it gets pretty muddy out there, it gets pretty hard. It gets slip a lot.
But the quarterback still has to anticipate you're going to make that cut and you're going to be there. So, you got the responsibility to try and get back there as quickly as you can to get him that out. One of the things about Thayer, too, is that they have a very, very good defense. They hit and they will hound you. But one of the things that I've always seen that Salem Tigers have been able to get success with, Coach, is that we were able to get behind them. Just the passes were just a little bit too short, too long, just out of the reach of our guys, or we dropped them.
Yeah. The last couple of years we played them, with us evolving into more of a passing football team, and I think if you watch us this year play football compared to last year and the year before, you'll see as we got toward the end of last year, our guys weren't afraid to put it in the air. I wasn't afraid to call a pass play. I had confidence in my quarterback and my wide receivers. And, you watch us this year, we can throw on any down. We'll come out and throw on first down if we have to. And a lot of that is the kids understanding the system, the kids, most importantly, feeling comfortable in the system, and our quarterback feeling comfortable enough back there that he trusts that offensive line, so he looks around, and a lot of that's maturity on Zach Epplin. We've talked about that too, that, a young Zach Epplin 3 years ago, he felt pressure, he used his legs. Mm-hmm. And we've really worked with him on staying in the pocket, stepping up, stepping over, finding the island, and being patient. And that just comes with maturity. So, we think we'll be able to throw the football. Hopefully the rain will hold off to where our quarterback can get his hand on the football. But ultimately, they're a veer football team. They run option football. So if it's raining, they've got some of the same slippery issues we got trying to throw the football.
JJ, tell me a little bit about being a captain on the Salem Tigers before we head out here. You're coming back to a team you played for the previous year, but you're coming back a little bit more experienced, and now you're an upperclassman trying to lead this group. Obviously some of the guys you probably played with before, some you haven't. How hard is it to get respect from those guys? I mean, you step in, you've been a varsity player, so you step in and you show them, as Coach Mag was saying, is it by what you do on the field, or is it because you gain their respect by helping out your other teammates?
Well,
or a little of both.
I'm pretty sure I gained my respect in the summer because I was there every day in the weight room, and I was bringing kids in, and I was helping out and trying my best and working my hardest. Make our team better.
That does get respect when people know that you're out there every day.
Yeah, it really does. And like I said, we had the biggest turnout we've had in the summer. And he was one of the, vital roles in that. These guys, the weight room opened at 8 o'clock. I had to start showing up at 7:45 because they're already out there waiting on me and ready to go. And then when they're done, they hang around. They would go down, play 7-on-7, throw the ball around, hang out together. So they go eat lunch together. Really, really a neat group of kids. And like I said, all our captains, that we had, our core guys, they were there. And they were calling. There's days we got the cell phones out. And we're calling saying, hey, okay, we're ready to go. Can you get here? And, the weight room was flooded. And, JJ is definitely one of those captains that leads through example. And, I don't think, he didn't have to do anything special. He did what he does, and that's be aggressive in the weight room and aggressive in the conditioning, aggressive in practice, and, just being the role model of what a football player should be on the field.
Well, we're glad to have you back with the Salem Tigers this year and wish you the very best of luck against the Thayer Bobcats come Friday night. And, Coach, wish you the very best of luck as the Salem Tigers travel to Thayer, Game 4. And this will be a dandy one. It always is when we go to Thayer, Missouri. I tell you, if you want to see a hard-hitting football game, this will be one to attend. I'm Stan Stevens with Coach Brian McNamee and J.J. McGowan from the Salem Tigers on the Extra Point Show. Thanks for joining us on Fidelity Local 6.
As we look at our schedule for Friday night, Salem is the only team who will travel, taking their polished record on a 2-hour trip to Thayer. Speaking of unbeatens, the Falcons and Yellow Jackets will face off in our Price Chopper Game of the Week. Rolla will hope to gain their first victory over Joplin, and the Zizzers will look to right the ship against Hillcrest. We're quickly approaching the midway point of the varsity season. Next week, we'll break down conference standings and playoff implications. So don't miss the Extra Point. It's up, and it's good.